Yo, this is Trey. I'm with Zoe and Tiana, and this is Proof and Solutions.
You are now tuned into facts, transparency, results, process, authenticity, culturally competent, wise foresight, challenging, thought-provoking, clarity, unpacking, relatable, aware, present, proof and solution.
Controversial, witty, unbiased, intentional, black, sexy, sassy, fresh. Whatever we question, we will put to rest. Whatever you question, we will try our best. Before you get solutions, you gotta have the proof. We just here to talk about the facts and the truth. Relationships, sports, entertainment, or the news. Enzo and Tiana, baby, go through and talk it through.
Yo, we back again.
You already know who it is. It is Tiana and
Enzo,
you watching
Proof and Solutions.
We got a special guest with us tonight.
Hey man, go ahead, introduce yourself.
I'm Trey. The family, they call me Papa, but, you know,
Okay.
I go by Trey.
Okay, cool. Well, we got Trey here, aka Papa. You want to say something real quick before we get started?
Yeah, this is Lil Bro. We go way back. We kind of watched each other grow up, you know, just from the barbershop days and just hanging out with Lil Bro all the time, being at the crib. Yeah, so it's been great watching you grow into a man. And, we're going to dive into some great topics today to get you talking about, what you're about.
All right, man. Well, how you feeling today, first of all?
Man, I'm feeling marvelous.
That's
you know?
good. That's good.
I woke up today, that's an underrated blessing, so I'll never take that for granted. So whenever I wake up, I'm too blessed to be stressed.
I feel that.
Definitely.
I definitely feel the same. Every day I try to keep myself grounded. It is a blessing to wake up every day and be healthy and all that, Yeah,
That's a fact.
Yeah, well, let's get started, man. First question. How did you get the name or the nickname Papa?
So, it's crazy because, okay, I got two parents, but they was never together. But I get stories that on both sides, they just kind of was like, family over here was like, yeah, this Papa, family over here, this Papa. And it's always been like a similar explanation.
Wow.
So like, on my mom's side, my auntie would be like, you always thought you was grown, you thought you was somebody's dad. Like, me and her only 4 years apart. I don't know what my grandma was doing, but she was born in like 91, and I was born in 94. Or I don't know how that worked, but we was about 3 years something. She like 30 something. So, and I used to babysit her. So it was like, I was always the more mature, responsible one.
Wow.
And then I was never like, on my dad, he always say I was never like a cry. Like when I was a baby, I never really used to cry. I used to be on the block with him all day. He said I'd be on his leg, wouldn't make a noise, wouldn't move. It was like, man, he just grown. So I just always had that name.
I just wanted to say that before we get into the next question. It's just the explanation behind it. You'll never know. Because Papa, it sounds random. Like, you know what I'm saying? But, hey, that's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely can contest to that, just watching you grow up. I wouldn't say you were, like, bossy in a way, but, like, it's the way you held your own. Even from a young age, you were always, like, an example to my little brother, of course. You can agree with that. But, yeah, I think the name definitely, like, fits you for who you are, like, even now. Just, like, even though you're all quiet and stuff, but it's just the way that you carry yourself. So I'm glad that nickname stuck for you. So the next question we have for you, we know that you're a man of many talents. What is your current focus?
My current focus right now, I'm boxing right now. That's my current focus. But
Okay.
there's always things that it's like on a day-to-day, I feel like I never feel like stagnant because I'm always growing. But I'd be like, the bigger I get in life and the more I figure out, the more access I can obtain, it's like the more I could do. It's like I almost feel limited in everything I could do. It's like I wake up, okay, I go to the gym, then I go to work, then I get off, I go back to the gym. I might leave here and go to the gym. But it's like, all right, I'm focused and I'm locked in on that, but I always think like, damn, I could probably be doing other stuff too. So like in my free time, I try to write something here and there just to stay creative. But like in a perfect world, I'll be doing a lot of things. Like
Right.
this would always keep me motivated. Like I can't never sit still. So the more I elevate as not only a person, but just like economically in this world, and I have more, my ultimate goal is just to have an abundance of time. And so I can just kind of put it in different areas of my life where I can flourish. So
Right.
like I could
love
get more into art. I could get more into writing. I could maybe start. Everybody say I dress well, so I could get into fashion.
Right.
Just more things I could do. But right now I'm just kind of focused on boxing. But I always look at myself as more than. I never want to box myself in, but that's just kind of what I'm focused on right now.
Okay. I love how you put that.
Yeah, when you say that's what you want to focus on right now, what drives that focus at this very moment for you?
Well, I mean, if we speaking specifically boxing, it's one of those things where it's like it's now or never. It's like time is not on your side. This career could be short lived. I'm already 27,
Right.
so it's like I just can't. I'm gonna put this off for 5 years. Like no, I'm already at a certain age, so it's like go time. So if I'm gonna do something, it's now or
Now,
never.
right.
So I just gotta lock in on that. So that's just kind of
Now
been my
or
perspective.
never.
And it's like, if in a sport in general, they say your primes are like around 29, 28, 29. So I'm like, I can't waste these years of development to get to that point. So I gotta go hard.
That's
Feel
work
that.
ethic right there. And
Definitely
you're absolutely
feel that.
right. Definitely about just being in the prime of our age, because it came fast. When you're young, they tell you, you're going to wish you was a kid again because it goes so fast. Just like now we're like really in our prime. To be here and to have seen what we've seen and to have come from where we've come from is just a great place to just reflect, on what you're currently doing. But I love that you're not boxing yourself into that, even though you're currently doing that. Which, we definitely want you to have a platform and a space to also, put your creative side out there.
Yeah, that's the truth. I want to say, I just have a random question about boxing. You ever I've been in street fights, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You ever be afraid to get knocked out?
No, but the thing is like, it's two different type of worlds. Like if I spar, I'm more afraid to spar because like I'm in here practicing, trying to work on the move, and people are trying to take my head off. Even though I got headgear, it's like, oh man, sometimes I'd be like, maybe I don't want to spar today. But if somebody called me out, it's like, I used to be a short, fat kid, so I still think I got like a little man syndrome. So if you try me, like if you play with me, I'd be like, oh, okay. But when I get to a fight, it's kill or be killed. So it's either me or you. So I don't really have no fear in a fight, but sparring, it'd be some days where I'd be like, damn, I know this dude, he gonna try to take my head off.
Right.
And I done seen stars before, and I'm like, damn. But people always say I'm well composed, so you'll never see like I'm just hurt or dazed or something, and I just keep coming forward. But yeah, I mean, it's a scary sport overall, but I don't be. It just come with the territory.
Right.
And they say when you get knocked out, you don't really feel it.
I could see that. All right, man. You got anything you want to add to that, baby?
I love the sport of boxing. Grew up watching boxing and everything like that. I personally, when you were growing up, I don't know if I ever saw you in the ring. So, and I see, you got your peace tattoo, and here you are, in the ring and talking about his kill or be killed. This is new for me, so it's just really exciting more than anything. That's all.
Well, I always like to think only way to truly to obtain peace in the beginning, it comes through war. So you have to go through some type of struggle or challenge or journey where it's going to be tough. Because I like to think when we're born into this world, we're going to face some sort of adversity and ups and downs. And you got to ultimately find that peace. So it's a journey to get the peace. And then once you have it, you got to protect it. So that's kind of.
I like how
That's
you
deep.
did that. Yeah,
That's
isn't
deep. That makes a lot of sense.
So you in the ring and you're like, it's kill or be killed, but it's about peace because that's what you're fighting for ultimately.
Yeah,
Okay.
I gotta be safe when I get back to the crib. I
Oh,
gotta make
absolutely.
sure my faculties in order. I don't want to get touched, nothing.
Right. Okay.
I feel that. That makes sense. Yeah, and that's definitely a true statement to boxers in general, because it's like, you know, kind of like what's his name, Muhammad Ali. You know, his brain problems or whatever. But yeah, it's good to have that type of understanding about yourself in that ring, man. I guess third question for us, not counting here, but next question would be like, you're creative, specifically like writing. What are you currently writing, if you're writing anything?
See, I knew y'all was gonna ask me this, and so I write like poetry, and sometimes it turned into songs.
Oh, okay.
Then it'd be like it might turn into a rap. Then it might turn into something that like, man, if I could write for like one of these like Summer Walker or something, like that would be cool. I had to get into that space and figure out how to gain access to that world. So that's like a big thing I always think about. That it's like every day when I'm writing stuff, I'm driven by it because it's like, okay, the more I grind in life in general, because I like to believe, you know, how you do anything is how you do everything. So if I'm just grinding in general and I get to a point in life where I could just have access to different spaces, different worlds, it's like, say if I'm invited to a party and there goes the next biggest superstar, and then we politicking and we, you know, gain a relationship, and I bring this skill set to the table. They're like, oh, that's useful. And then y'all doing business. So I always keep that stuff in the back of my mind.
Okay. So basically like freelancing right now. Right, I understand that. What about you? You have anything to add to that, baby?
Yeah, I mean, I understand where you are, especially as someone who did education first. Oftentimes, passion, like, it does kind of fall back a little bit. It's just important not to forget it. And the fact that in your free time you are picking up your phone or whatever your method is in writing, that speaks to what's in you and what brings you the most peace, because it's what you do in your, right now, what's downtime. But like you said, as you continue to level up in life, you'll create space for that. And I would encourage you and even challenge you to start creating more space for that, so that you're giving it its equal opportunity. Like, not more than what you're currently focused on, but enough so that it becomes also a drive because you're passionate about it. And oftentimes we let our careers and the things we do to make money take over. And at the end of the day, you're sitting in your big fancy house, surrounded by all the things you wanted with your hard-earned money, and you realize you lost your passion. And what's it all for then, right? So that's all.
So do you think you found anything to write about specifically, or you just want to, like you said, scan the world? And how's the writing incorporated into what you just described, as far as if you see a celebrity and stuff like that?
So kind of right now, my writing process, or what I write on a day-to-day, is kind of just what I'm experiencing through life. And it's like I get to express it in a certain way. And I always like putting words together ever since I was a kid. You know, my mother was into poetry. So I always kind of grew up doing that. So I'm more like in a poetic space. So like if I'm going through something, I'll just write it down. It's almost like a journal.
So you do got stuff written down, you just ain't pieced it all together yet.
Yeah. Like I'll be sitting and I have things just kind of itemized in my notes, but I'll be sitting down and I might write like something out. And then the next day I'll be like, let me add to that. Or I'll go back and I'll create something else. And I'm like, man, that kind of fits with this. And it's like, oh, okay. If I find a chorus, I can maybe put a song together. Like,
Right.
You know,
Yeah, that's great.
I was gonna ask, can you give us a little something, you know? Like something you think.
Yeah, I knew that was happening too.
Yeah, go ahead and give us a little something.
This is exclusive. I just need everybody to know that right now. This is exclusive to Proof and Solutions.
Yeah.
Let's go.
While you looking for it, man, I don't know, like what do you think you finna give us right now? What's going on?
I don't know, man. And I ain't get my flow together because I don't know how I would put it out.
Okay.
And then I think about, like, if I was to be like some type of musician or artist, like what would be my lane? What would I want to do?
Right.
So, caught up in the rapture, got me biting the dust. Is it love or lust? Got me fiending this way, still calling the days. The page I've been meaning to turn, said I'd adjust, but I just been letting it burn. Through it all, you gotta live, you'll learn. Watch everybody get it right, cry myself to sleep at night. But I ain't finish it up. And I don't know how I would flow it, but it sound hard if I get the flow together.
That sound hard.
Like if I get
with a capital D. Yeah. Yeah, you need to go ahead and get in that space and just give yourself that space to, get in that flow of creativity. But thank you so much for sharing that. I know that, to get put on a spot as artists and as creatives, we know what that's like. So it's just like we challenge other people to do that because that's what we're passionate about. And from growing up with you, I know that you're passionate about it. And just like pulling that out of you is going to be seemingly difficult, it seems. But once you get used to it, it'll be easier. Because I'm like that. I'm super quiet, shy. And being on camera and in front of spaces gets like intimidating to yourself. It's not other people for me. It's myself. It's in my own head that I'm questioning myself. So it's just like being able to step outside of that and be really just confident in what you have to say, whether that's art, whether that's you need to tell somebody something that's life-changing, just knowing that what you have to say matters. I think that's helped me a lot. So we want to know, out of, your creativity and what you're doing, and like I said, your many talents, which we may not even know about, what are you most passionate about?
So if we're speaking in general, just on the day-to-day, I'm passionate about, if I just speak on this current stage of life that I'm in, I've set myself, my life out in stages. I've planned everything up to this point. And right now I'm just on a path of self-elevation and growth. So every day I wake up with a burning desire to get better. So I kind of look at it like I always want to be a great example. I always look at it like ever since I was a kid, I was like, when I have kids, I want to be Superman of them.
Right.
So whatever I got to do, I'm going to live all my dreams. I'm going to go achieve all my goals.
Keep going.
Anything I desire, I'm going to get. So when people look at me, they be like, man, that's an example.
Right.
Like, man, I can be like him. And I always look at it like where I've came from, and I wasn't just like a kid with a silver spoon.
Right.
So I always kind of embraced the struggle and never making excuses for my life and ultimately going out and getting the life that I wanted.
Right.
And people getting to see that and be inspired by it. So that's on a day-to-day, that's kind of what keeps me going, and I always got that in the back of my head. So if I ever feel like I'm being complacent or get stagnant, the universe will have its way of reminding me, and I get back focused and understanding kind of what I do it for, kind of what I'm trying to achieve. Because ultimately, I want to leave a legacy. I've always planned out my life like, man, if I achieve everything by 86, I could just peace out. Y'all can celebrate my life.
Right.
Y'all ain't got to cry at the funeral. At 86, I live a good life. And if I left something good for my children, and not even just my children, but people around me.
Right.
And they're like, man, I was a positive influence, a positive role model. Those are things that drive me on a day-to-day. So if I was a person that like, man, I did this, that, and the third. A lot of people make excuses. They're like, man, I got tied down in this, or I grew up in it's a generational curse, I'm stuck. I'm like, I'm here to break all chains and do everything I want. So when I pass, I leave no stone unturned.
Right.
And you can look at me like, man, I didn't have it easy. Everything that was set before me, I was supposed to fail every time. I never got anything handed to me. I had to work for everything. But I also knew everything I ever asked for, I received. I put the work in. So when I passed, you can be like, man, I could do that.
Right.
That's a great answer, man.
Yeah, that was fantastic. I think we all, as people, can take from that. It's just like, what is our burning desire that fuels us for longevity, for legacy, something that doesn't fade, something that when we do go, you know, what did we leave behind? Is that all of this mess? Like, it's like, really, I look at ourselves as like a brand. Like, you're leaving behind a brand. What are people going to say about your brand once you're gone? You know?
Do you ever get frustrated about you know, having many, you know, talents and passions for things for you to be able to leave your legacy? Do you ever get frustrated in that process?
Yeah, it's definitely frustrating because I always, it was kind of like, I always knew the path that I was on, and I always was going to choose the path of most resistance. I've always known there was going to be a lot of ups and downs, trials and tribulations, but the more you go through, you become hardened. So it gets harder as you go through, but you also get stronger. So it's one of those things where it's like, man, I done weathered 1,000 storms. This is another one. So in the moment you can get lost in it and be like, man, all right, your head can be down. You're like, man, I did this already. I'm relentless. They can't beat me. I'm undefeated. Ain't nothing you could do to stop me. I already been through this. So that sometimes I got to remind myself, look myself in the mirror, you know, let myself know, like, you know, you done did this before. It's not like a pretentious confidence. It's something you actually done already. So, you know, you just put your shoes on, lace them up, and just do it. So that's kind of my perspective.
Okay. I like that. Well, since you are, like, you know, trying to leave a legacy and stuff like that, and you're gonna be relentless about it no matter what.
Yeah.
It brings me to ask you this: how does it feel being the oldest between you and your siblings?
Well, being the oldest it's a beautiful thing because me, I've always been a person where it's like I couldn't really imagine being the youngest or having these people up over me. Like, man, I gotta listen to all these.
What the siblings gonna say about that?
Yeah, like, you know, I just can't do it because, you know, it's hard for you to just be big broing me and telling me what to do and smacking me around. So it's good, but I always looked at it like I always been a person that's kind of keyed in on the responsibilities in front of me, and I always focus on that.
Okay.
So growing up, when having siblings, I was like, man, this is gonna prepare me a little bit to be a father one day.
Okay.
There was times where it's like, man, we ain't really got no food in here, but I'm the oldest, so I gotta make sure everybody eat, and I gotta cook meals and do all this. So I always look at it as beautiful because I'm a person that kind of likes responsibility. I always been a diligent leader, and I've always focused on not the power that comes with it, but the responsibility. So my dad always says I'm the best big brother in the world.
Shout out to Pops.
Yeah. So I always just look at it like, man, and even more than my siblings, just like in the gym, it's basically I created an impromptu Big Brother program on my own. So it's like, because I look at it like I stay in a nice crib in a nice neighborhood. These young kids there, you know, they're in the city. I'm like, man, you could come through. I got my little bro there. Y'all could play the game. Y'all could do whatever. We could go here. We could play basketball. We could go to the gun range. We could do whatever just to get you a different experience in life.
Right, I understand that.
And I always look at it like, especially the kids in the inner city, like, well, I'm just like you. I went to the same school as you.
Right.
I done lost homies like you. I know people that's locked up like you. But I live this type of life.
Right.
So it gives them a different outlook. Be like, because I always been like, man, there's certain people, like even black folks, like, man, I just can't relate to you. Like, you're like a privileged colored Negro. Like,
Speak more on that. Go ahead. What you mean by that?
yeah, because it's like, it's certain people where it's like, we might have the symbol, like, man, this is black excellence, or this is that, or we went to these HBCUs and we did all this. But they kind of lose touch with, like, maybe where they came from, and then, like, their kids around my age, they'll be like, oh, man, I can't relate to this, or they'll scoff at this, or they always had a two-parent household. And I'm like, man, I just can't relate to that.
Right.
So it's like, I always look at myself as, like hood excellence.
I like that name.
Excellence.
I like that term phrase.
Yeah, I love that. Go ahead, coin that. Make some t-shirts. No, like, I relate to you so much because, like you, I'm the oldest. And I wouldn't change that for anything either because of pretty much what you said. It gives you a role of responsibility. And when you embrace that, it really becomes the foundation of who you are. Not only for your family and your siblings, but in your workspace, in your creative space, it allows you to really feel free. And I'm sure that you could also speak on what that feels like.
Yeah, I'm definitely the oldest too out of my siblings. I got 4 other siblings. Being the oldest for me, if I may add, is just like you said, it is a responsibility. But then also, one thing I do know about being the oldest is you always gonna be ahead of them. You always gonna be ahead of the brothers or the sisters as the oldest in age. So even when they think they got one up on you, I mean, I've been on this earth longer than you.
Right. So give me my respect. Thank you. And I think it just gives you more drive to be an example. For me, really, that's what it was. Like, I had to do those things not just for myself. I had greater purpose in doing those things. So I'm like, I'm going to set the best example that I can for my siblings, for my future children, and for young women, like coming from hood excellence, not growing up with both parents in the home, but all getting the chance to experience that through my father's marriage, but also knowing what it's like to come from the struggle, to know what it's like to have to go to the store, with your mom using the EBT card and people looking at you weird. You live that life. And it's so important that we don't lose touch with that because it's what makes us who we are. And that relatable piece is going to go so far compared to someone who's lost touch. We're going to look at you like, get this jigaboo out of here. Like, you lost touch. Yeah. We can't relate to that. So we want to stay relatable. And we like to ask right now, given just the state that our world is in, if given the opportunity to change one thing, what would you change?
Man, just one. Because
Just
I'll
one.
change a lot of stuff.
Go ahead, get into it. Start with one and then go into the next one.
Because they told me in high school I was supposed to be the first black president.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
But what's one thing I would change? Well, first, it would probably just be, it would be something within our community, because that's my main focus.
Absolutely.
I would just, I would probably narrow it down to it all. I don't know how I would do it though, like the whole masses, but the thing that kind of sets us back is our victim mentality as a whole. So that's the one thing I'd change. It's one of those things where it's like, people would be like, man, we on welfare, we on this, we could never make it. We weren't born with this, we didn't have that.
Right.
And I'm like, yeah, but what's stopping you? I know you was born into this, but if you don't choose to make the most out of your life, you're choosing to stay in poverty and struggle. And
I like that. I love that.
it all comes down to choices. So it's one of those things like, let's say like even Kanye, when he said slavery was a choice, I feel as if he didn't explain that thoroughly.
Go ahead, feed off that real quick.
Explain that.
Explain that.
Because
In your way.
It's a similar mentality, whereas, okay, I didn't ask to be a slave. I didn't choose to do that. But if I didn't make the decision, let's say Harriet Tubman, right? She freed the slaves, right?
Mm-hmm.
So she could have just said, oh, we slaves, we're going to be slaves. We're just going to stay being slaves. We don't like this, but we're going to, oh, massa, yeah, we're just going to keep doing that. But she was like, no, I'm going to free myself and free my people. That's
Right.
a choice. She chose to do that.
Yes.
And if she didn't choose to do that, she was going to remain a slave.
Right.
So this can translate to many things in many areas that would help the progression of black folks.
Absolutely.
If you'd be like, man, stop accepting these positions, like, man, I'm just going to stay on welfare and get EBT. You know, I'm a food stamp baby. I get it. I was on Section 8.
Right.
But ever since I was a kid, I was like, man, I'm going to be rich one day because I ain't finna be staying up in here.
Right.
So people, like broke folks, they love hating on rich people. And I was like, yeah, that's cool for y'all, but I'm going to be rich. So
Right.
so
I
that's
can't
good for-
relate.
I can't relate. And that's all a mentality. So if I could change something, I don't know how to do it. Maybe God could give me some magical powers. I'm like, just change the mentality.
Right.
So once we change our mentality and perspective overall, we'll see some progression. And stop looking for handouts. Like, man, we just need this and need that.
Right.
If you give me reparations,
Reparations. Yeah. I was just,
I'm
yeah.
like, man, if you don't just do it, just make the choices. I'm gonna have a better life. I'm gonna do this. Or if you need something to inspire you, like, man, I want to leave this for my children. But a lot of times I don't really blame black folks because I see it all the time. It could be, you could be raised, the cycle basically. You could be born into this, and everything you've seen and every person you've seen, they've been stuck in the same environment. So if I'm a little kid, not every kid is gonna think when they're in kindergarten they can be all they could be. They could be the president. I was that kid, but not every kid is like that. So
Right.
if I'm just looking and it's like, let's say for my specific scenario growing up as a kid, if all the men in my life are in the streets, they're all locked up, they're all dead, that's all I see. So I could grow up and be like, man, that's all life's gonna be for me. 'Cause that's all I've ever seen. Me, I was like, no. I used to tell my dad, like, man, I'm going to college. This is in kindergarten. Like, I already had it set out.
Right.
I've been planning out my life. I've been thinking and having the same mentality. This is why they call me Papa Charlie.
Right.
We get it now. We get it. We see
All
it.
coming together.
I've always had the same mentality and perspective ever since I was a kid. But not everyone's like that, so I don't put the blame on people. What I do blame people for is I always hold people accountable. So it's still up to you at the end of the day
Right.
to make that decision for yourself. But I can't really blame you if that's all you've ever seen and that's all you ever known. So you don't have hope. You're like, man, my big brother, he's dead. He got shot. Or, my uncle, he used to rob banks, so he's locked up. Or, my granddad was never there. So it's like, if you never see these examples, it's hard for you to be like, man, that's possible. Because you can see it all day on the TV.
Right.
This goes back to relatability. If I see it on the TV, but that's not me.
Right. It's
I
different.
can't relate to that.
Right.
So it's like, oh, man, that's for them folks. And a lot of people say that, like, man, that's not for us. That's white people shit. Like, like they do that. But it's like, that's why I always focus on being an example. And I always be like, man, I come from where you come from.
Right.
So when I do this, that means you could do this. And if you choose not to, that's on you. And then at that point that you choose to do that, given the outlet and the opportunity, that's on you. I'm not going to have no feelings for you.
Right.
Right.
That makes sense.
That's so huge because if we could, what you spoke about wanting to change in the world is obtainable. It's not like you spoke of something that's weird or voodoo or impossible. You spoke of something that is very possible. Something that if we all embrace that as a black people, that we would force change. Like not only in our generation, but in the generations to come. And we were just watching a documentary special on Netflix about just the history of racism in America, and the sentiment was that we're at a tipping point again in this world, and it's up to us, meaning all of us in this generation, to either really push that forward or to let it fall back again. And we've seen it falling back because they've taken Black leaders, Dr. King, Malcolm X, everybody who stood for that sort of radical type of change to really free Black minds. Because when they enslaved us, they put chains on our hands and our feet, but they can't slave your mind, your mentality, your ability to go beyond, the slaves who snuck and learned how to read and who really did escape. It is their mentality and their choice to really buy into what was possible for them, right?
Mm-hmm. That's kind of what I think about, is like, I do think like our mentally as Black folks, we're in chains, we're in shackles, because I always like to think that the first kind on this earth was Black folks, and we were the most powerful being, and you couldn't physically do anything with us, but if you took our minds and you tricked us,
right,
that's deep.
You can have us in chains. So I just think that's kind of where we're stuck at.
Right.
Yeah, I feel the same too. When you touched on the victimhood and stuff like that, and accountability, that makes sense, because I can't understand it either. How, we all have our different experiences growing up, but we constantly seeing the same things. It's like people are addicted to pain almost. You know what I mean? So that's just how I look at it. If it's not that, then something ain't right. But then I look at it like, is there so much ignorance that it blinds you to progress? You know what I mean? I look at all this stuff, and it don't make sense to me either. So I definitely
it's like believing that you're supposed to suffer, you're supposed to struggle.
Correct.
You're supposed to be the lesser class. It's almost like in the belief system. And I'm like, we just got to break that.
Right.
Because if you believe you could be something bigger, something powerful, if you wake up and believe, man, I could be better than I was, or, you know what, I've never seen anything that I want to do in life, but I believe I could do it. And if you have that in your head, you're going to chase after it.
Right.
But if you're just, it's your belief. If you don't think you could be anything, like we done seen this in a lot of hood movies. They were like, man, they told me I wasn't gonna be nothing, and I'm gonna end up like this person or this person. Man, you're gonna end up like your dad.
Right.
And usually they'd be like, there's been times where, like my uncle, he was locked up with his dad.
Wow.
That's wild.
So it's like you just following those footsteps because that's what you've been misguided.
Right.
And that's all you know. You've been tricked to believe that you can't do these things. It's not possible, so you just fall victim to the norm. And it's just that cycle. But it's always up to you to break it.
Absolutely.
For sure.
Well, you've given our audience and definitely us a lot to think about. And in Proof and Solutions fashion, we always go through proof and solutions. I think from our conversation today, what would you sum up as a proof and then a solution to some grand point in everything that you said tonight?
We need a lot more positive role models. Like Boogie says, we need more Black superheroes. And the solution is be one yourself.
Dang.
And thank you all for watching and joining us tonight for Proof and Solutions.
Hey, I liked everything Papa said tonight. Man, you did great, man. I really love, you inspire me, you know what I'm saying? And that's what we all need.
I definitely agree. You inspired everyone who tunes in to watch this. We do need more black superheroes, as you quoted. And I think that does start with us. It starts with what's in us, and really taking what's in us and putting that into others, not forcibly, not our identity, but really our heart. I think that's what it is. I think what we're missing is really, it's love. Love for each other, love for us as a people, our culture, our history, our future. Mm-hmm. That's where we are. And if we come together, even if we three were the start, revolutions will begin.
And that's Proof and Solutions.